Hello everyone and welcome back to Magic Gathering Strat. I'm Binkaby and right now I'm deep within the standard testing for the Grand Prix that is about to be held in Stockholm next week. So I've narrowed my choices of deck down to Sky Fireworks, I believe some calls it, and I like that name, so the Mantis Rider burn deck basically. And I'm also looking at Esper control and blue-black control. That's the decks that I'm currently interested in. I have one more thing I need to try out before I completely decide, and that is basically blue-red, maybe with a white splash control, because I think that cards like Nullify would be pretty good in standard right now, but then you need to play so much blue that cards like Bile Blight and Hero's Downfall and stuff doesn't really fit. Like here, if I played Nullify instead of Bile Blight, I would have to cut some cards here because you can't have that much black and blue. But for the moment, I think blue-black is what I want to play. And I took the list from Ivan Flock. He did pretty well in the Pro Tour and I thought his deck list was decent, so I tried it out. But I found one thing that I really didn't like, and that was that his only card draw was Dig Through Time. Many games where I was playing, I managed to do what the deck tries to do, and it's trading 1 for 1 for 1 and then win with a Dig Through Time basically. But sometimes you go 1 for 1 for 1 and you'll kind of stop at 4 lands or something, where cards like Divination and Jace's Ingenuity is pretty good to have. Obviously you have to be stuck on 5 lands for Ingenuity to be good. But there was several occasions where we just sat and did nothing, and I might had like 1 removal and a couple of lands, and he had a couple of lands and his top decks. And yeah, I thought it would be nice to have a couple more card draw spells, and I think 2 is the right number. I agree with Prognostic Sphinx as the win condition. He is pretty hard to stop, and he's also an excellent blocker for various threats, so that's pretty nice. Right now I'm still considering a few changes. Ashok, the Nightmare Weaver, I do love the card. I think he's so good, and it gives the control decks a more aggressive approach. You can like snag their first play and then land Ashok when you know it won't die and they won't land something that you can't beat, and then all of a sudden they have to come up with an answer against a control deck, and that's pretty good. But right now he's not in the list. It could be right to cut down a Sphinx or 2 to add Ashoks. Also, Pearl Lake Ancient could be better than Sphinx. He does not have Shroud or Hexproof or something, but reusing the lands is pretty good. Like you can hit with it, reuse like Radiant Fountains, something that Ivan did not have in his list, but I kinda like them. And so you get extra lives and extra squires, which is pretty good. So that's the 2 main things I'm considering, Ashok and more card draw, so I'm gonna try out the Ingenuities. The very last card that is on my list is Perilous Vault. Some people love it, some people hate it. I'm not really sure where I stand. I haven't tried it out yet, but I think for one it's very slow. It's not like Damnation or Supreme Verdict or something like that. It's really slow. And the deck is designed to go 1 for 1. So there will be many cases where the Perilous Wall takes one thing, and then it's just a very overpriced Silence the Believers or whatever, or Hero's Downfall or Utter End or whatever. And the other downside is that it is one of the few cards that actually kills Prognostic Sphinx, and that's not good either. So yeah, I'm not sure about the Vault. I think the deck could manage without it. You have Drown in Sorrow for the small creatures. You have big removals for stuff that you can't handle, and you have the Disdainful Strokes and Despises and stuff. You can handle the decks. The only thing that would be somewhat of a problem game 1 is like your Sky tokens or something that goes tokens, 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 and they overload your Bile Blights and Drowning Sorrows game 1. But that's why we have more Drowning Sorrows in the board. So I'm not convinced. So my main testing now is to get Ashok into the deck. That's basically my goal. And I'm not sure what I'm gonna cut. I've also cut the 2 Thoughtseize main. I just don't like the card. Not in standard. So many decks have so many redundant copies that you are unlikely to snag something that you really care about. And most of the time what you end up taking is a creature, and Despise is just better in that case. This also takes Planeswalkers, which is kind of the 2 things that you want to take anyway, so it doesn't take opposing counter spells, and that's a downside, but I don't think you can tweak the deck to beat aggro, mid-range and control. I think the main deck is pretty flexible, and I've tweaked the deck's sideboard to be more against aggro and a bit less focused on mid-range, and well, I have like 3 cards that are good against control, so it's not very much, but I think it's okay anyway. So hopefully I will succeed in some matches here, so I'll see you shortly for game 1.